if this Pikachu is in this game, it was the same Pikachu as in the previous game, it means that all the Pikachus are the
Shane,
same.
are you saying that Game Freak lied?
Yep.
Hot take!
Pika Pika!
Okay, there's a lot of stuff going on with the Pokemon Sword and Shield right now. There's hashtags. Hashtag Game Freak lied, because people think that there's some problems going on.
And very
Hashtag, hashtag thank you Game Freak.
And very happy.
And very happy. So I want to get into a little bit of this because people are talking about this left and right now. Earlier this year, the producer of Pokemon Sword and Shield, Junichi Masuda, explained to people that they would not be including the entire roster of all Pokemon in this newest title,
Yes.
Pokemon Sword and Shield. Now, there's the National Dex. Now, this is the National Pokedex, and pretty well, from the very beginning of the mainline first Pokemon game, you've been able to carry over the roster of Pokemon from one mainline game to the next, up until Pokemon Sword and Shield, which only has, I think it's a little over half of the entire roster from the National Dex. So Junichi Masuda, like I said, is the producer. He talked with Polygon, and he spoke about prioritizing new gameplay ideas over including legacy Pokemon. He said, we need to be able to find a way to balance the right number of Pokemon and also still introduce new ways for players to enjoy the game, new gameplay ideas to keep the series fresh and enjoyable far into the future. Also in an article from Polygon, Masuda also said that they were going to be making all their models from scratch, and all of the animations, many of the animations would be new as well.
Yes.
So, okay.
This is a point of contention.
Yes!
Folks, let's be fair. When someone says they're going to be redoing everything from scratch, that literally means they're going to be doing everything from scratch.
Exactly.
That's not what happened.
So those were the expectations that were set, right? Oh, you're not giving us all the Pokemon, but you're giving us new content?
Yes.
You're not giving us all the Pokemon because you're working so hard on this new content.
There's a lot of Pokemon. It's not like it's an easy thing to just go back and redesign every single one.
We're into quadruple digits now, and that takes a lot of time. Well, users that have somehow gained access to early copies of Sword and Shield have started data mining these games, and they're finding that these claims that the models would be made from scratch and that the animations would be fresh and new, they found out that these are not, in fact, true.
Yes.
That many of the models are the same as models that were previously used in titles like Sun and Moon.
That's right.
Right?
And we've got an image.
We got many images. We can look, we got a Pikachu going on here?
So this is the Pikachu that you're looking at right now. Now, you're probably not, you don't know exactly what this is. This is called a wireframe. The wireframe is the mesh that exists underneath, that actually creates a 3D model. That mesh gets texture overlaid on it, and then it actually becomes the model you see in the game. The one to the left is from?
The one to the left is from Sun and Moon, and the one to the right is from Sword and Shield. Now, this is one of the less egregious sort of comparisons because the one on the right is different. Do you see the little thing in Pikachu's mouth?
Yes, it has a mouth.
Pikachu has a throat.
Yes.
That's some of the new content that I guess was taking so long, and that's why they couldn't include a few hundred more Pokemon because they had to give Pikachu a throat. I'm over-exaggerating, of course.
Yeah, just a little
facetious.
bit. Yeah,
right.
This is the kind of thing you're going to see this with games that get improved over time. They can add more details to it. The higher that mesh work is, basically, the more polygons are, the more power it takes the machine to actually run it.
Right.
So the Switch would be taking a lot of power to run it. That being said, you're basically seeing, I want to say, 95% of the work already done, and it's transferred over from one game to the next.
Do we have another image lined up that we can check out here? Okay, so this is Lucario.
Yeah.
And now this is exactly the same. The one on the left, of course, is from Sun and Moon, and the one on the right is from Sword and Shield.
So basically what you're seeing here is just a one-to-one pullover.
Yeah. So,
now this is it. This is the fundamental issue. Now, originally when we took a look at the trailer for Sword and Shield, all the way back when it was just shown off for the first time, I said, boy, those are just the models from the previous game being brought over. And a lot of people freaked out, saying I was lying because they quoted the producer. Well, it turns out the producer was lying. How about that? Yeah, that's strange, isn't it?
Yeah, and I was like, I'm not sure. I got to wait and see what happens. But yes, you were right to a major extent, as we can see. So fans are not necessarily upset that the assets are being reused, because this
Yeah.
is something that's happened, right? With Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, people did find out that many assets were reused from Pokemon Sun and Moon.
Absolutely.
That's not wild. The problem here is that the producer of this title said that they could not include the other Pokemon because they were putting so much work into the rework of the models,
Yes.
and the rework of the animations. And I guess the data mining has shown that some of the animations are being reused as well.
So look, folks, I'm not upset that Pokemon are getting reused. Guess what? That's Pokemon. That's what you do. You reuse some of the assets from one game to the next. They did it in the past. They do it now. It's really not that big of a problem. The issue comes into play when they basically said, oh yeah, we're redoing it all from scratch, when they weren't.
Yeah.
The issue comes into play when they say that they're making new animations when a lot of the animations are not, or are new. There's a lot of aspects that come with balancing and other things, texture work, that are not just those basic things. The problem is, from what we can tell, there's a lot of those assets being used.
Yes.
And just not having all the Pokemon come over from the game is really making people upset.
Absolutely.
And we also have to take into consideration that this isn't the only Pokemon game that was released on the Switch. Very recently, we got Hello Pikachu, Hello Eevee.
Let's go Pikachu, let's go
Pikachu.
Eevee. But I love Hello Kitty too. It's
No,
fine.
I'm talking about Hello Pikachu, the N64 game. That's what I'm doing.
Hey you Pikachu.
Hey you Pikachu. Okay, Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee. Those games utilize 3D models that are essentially identical to the ones we're seeing in these games too. And the problem is, many of the Pokemon that aren't showing up in the brand new Sword and Shield were shown in that game, meaning that, well, why didn't you just pull them over? They were done already.
So a lot of people are wondering, like, is Game Freak being lazy? Do you think this is Game Freak being lazy? I am positive that their messaging was just wrong. They should not have gone out of their way to say that things were going to be new, brand new, especially the models and things. They should have known full well, as soon as people get their hands on this title, they're going to be going through everything, right? Because of how divisive the fact that the National Dex is not included with this release. There's going to be ways that you can still manage your Pokemon. There's Pokemon Home that's being developed right now. It's not finished yet, but you will have ways to kind of contain your Pokemon that you've had through legacy titles. But yeah, you won't be able to add them to this game.
You know, for me, it's not so much that I think the developers are lazy or anything like that, because it's a complex game. It looks like it's going to be difficult to manage all of those Pokemon together, including the new ones. To balance everything just right is a challenge. It's not very easy. The only problem I have is that knowing that many of these Pokemon already exist from other games and have already been balanced, it changes things. When you add a new feature to a game, when you add a new attack, a new ability, suddenly that ability has to be balanced with hundreds of other Pokemon. It's not an easy feat.
Yep.
But at the same time, all the way back when we saw Sword and Shield, the game didn't look like a brand new experience. It kind of looked old school with low quality model work and low quality textures, and it turns out they are. Right. I mean, that's really it, right?
So there's kind of two sides to this, right? There's of course, the rabid fan base that's been supporting Pokemon since day one, and there's the developers themselves who have been making these games. Should fans expect throughout the lifespan of these titles that their Pokemon should move forward from title to title? I like all of the messaging that these games have given, besides, of course, the producer coming out and saying it wasn't going to happen this time. But playing through these games without listening to any interviews or anything like that, you have that expectation, right?
You know, that's true, yeah.
There are some people that started out with these games way back in, I don't know, 1998 or 1997 or whatever, and they made Pokemon, and they named it after their schoolyard friends from back then, and they've been able to take those Pokemon and bring them forward, and hey, you know, he could join me on my adventure here and there, and you've been able to have that legacy. That's like a huge part of what Pokemon is.
Yeah.
Right? And then there's the opposite side, where can we honestly expect the developers, like we were talking about before, to be able to make brand new animations and to carry quadruple digit assets or characters forward over and over again, right?
It really becomes complex. You know what I think the problem that people are really having is we're hearing that the game doesn't run all that well, bad frame rates, bad resolutions, a whole variety of things, aliasing issues, and you would assume that game assets from a 3DS being brought over would somehow run better on a much much more powerful system like the Switch.
Or you would assume that because many of those assets aren't coming over, that they took the time
yes.
that they needed to use to make sure that this game runs 100% properly.
Yeah.
So we were just looking at a few things earlier today with like there's freezing issues with people climbing up ladders and stuff. And there's kind of a mess within the game itself of characters that aren't supposed to be in the game, but all the data is still there. Like Bulbasaur's there, and 35 Pokemon are in game files, I guess, that are not actually accessible.
Which could also mean it's DLC. Get ready for that.
They said they wouldn't do that.
I'm joking, folks.
Yeah, I know you're joking, but that makes it even like, why is it there? It's like some weird phantom limb of Pokemon.
Yeah.
That's just
it's
embedded
true.
in
It's
it.
true. It's weird to see that, but that tells me that they literally wholesale picked up assets and just dropped them in and didn't care.
Or maybe there's some connecting tissue there where they're like, well, if we don't have that Bulbasaur data there, battles like completely fall apart for some reason. Like we need Bulbasaur's left, right leaf or something.
You really don't.
So I do believe that, like, considering like. You know, I'm looking at this more from the fan's perspective, but also from the developer's perspective. I'm more of a fan and a game player than anything else. I still believe there's probably going to have to be a line drawn in the sand where it's like we cannot continue to add to this roster, but is now the time? Is the question. The first mainline Pokemon game on a home console. There have been other releases that have not been mainline Pokemon games on like the GameCube and so on and so forth. First one, home console. No longer can they lean on necessarily this being a handheld game. Oh, it's not powerful enough.
Yeah.
We're on the Switch now.
Yeah, this is
right.
The Switch is more powerful than the Wii U, folks.
Yes.
Right?
Is this the time to do this? I don't know that it is.
No, it wasn't. This was not the right time to do it. I got to be fair, folks. I respect developers a heck of a lot. They are the people that make the dreams that we play. You know what I mean? But we're consumers. The moment that the developer lied to us by saying that it was basically all made from scratch, they lost my respect immediately. You can't lie to us because I was there and people were calling me insane and he lied to everyone. You can't do that. The moment you lie to your consumers, all trust goes out the window. Do you know why people are so angry right now? It's not because they reuse models. Everyone would have understood that. I would have understood that. It's that you lied about it. Those are the problems. But you still got the fans out there, the people that are supporting Game Freak, thanking them, because Game Freak isn't just about Pokemon. Shock. They've made tons of other games. Adam, what's one of the best games you've ever played?
Oh my gosh. What are we talking about? Drill Dozer?
Drill Dozer.
I was going to I immediately went to that weird Shock Sparkman.
Oh yeah,
Spark from the Genesis, the weird online thing from way back.
That's weird. That's too old. Pokemon. Okay, Pokemon.
Tempo the elephant.
Tempo. Oh, there's a lot of games that they've worked on. Game Freak isn't just a company that just made Pokemon. Okay, folks. So they've been around for a long time. They've made lots and lots of games. The problem that fans are having right now is that they're divided because there's people that love Pokemon and they're going to play this game no matter what, but there's fans that have been there for a very long time that feel like they've been lied to.
Yeah.
Because remember, we are dealing with a game that a lot of people out there pre-ordered systems, pre-ordered copies of the game, and maybe they picked up the brand new Pokemon Sword and Shield Switch just to play that specific game. And here they are, not getting the things that they thought they were going to get.
Right, absolutely. If you weren't paying attention to what's going on kind of in the news atmosphere, you'd get this Pokemon game and be like, oh, wait, a lot of stuff's missing here, right? And I feel so sorry for those people that are so passionate about it.
You know, controversy is the name of the game when it comes to games that aren't being released right away. I mean, we've been talking about Death Stranding for the past couple of days and just how bizarre that whole mess
Only positive interactions there,
only
my
positive.
friend.
Controversy and divisiveness amongst these games is the norm. And when it comes to Pokemon, they've been giving us the same game with variations and twists for so long that fans were eventually going to get burnt out. Right. We might be seeing the burning out of Pokemon altogether, but I don't think that's true. I believe Pokemon is just as strong now as it was in the past. Yeah. It's just there's a lot of people there paying attention more now than ever before, and they're a little bit angry about it.
And the game has been reviewing well, so because the NDA is up, a lot of critics have been speaking about it. It's reviewing well, but a lot of people have been saying that they're not really pushing the series in a new direction all that dramatically, and that's like again, first iteration of Pokemon on a home console. We're seeing it on the Switch. What else did we see on the Switch, right? Breath of the Wild.
Yep.
Totally reinvented the series.
Yep.
The series. Mario Odyssey.
Yep.
Kind of retreading and remaking and blowing up the ideas from Super Mario 64. Fire Emblem was doing something very different with the three houses and the whole school system aspect. And then we get a Pokemon game that doesn't feel like a giant leap, but a giant or a bit of a step back.
Well, you know what? Pokemon could easily be Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, where we basically got a remake of what was on the Wii U, but then they took out the parts that weren't working, the stupid battle system from the Wii U, and implemented a much better battle system. They made the game better. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is the best version of that game that exists.
That's true.
Maybe Pokemon Sword and Shield be the best version of Pokemon that exists. Probably not.
For
but
people
you know
that love Bulbasaur, no.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, folks, if you like Bulbasaur, you're not gonna like this game.
He's in the game.
Oh, he's in the game. He's in the game. He's in the code. You'll find him in the ether, but you won't see him on the streets.
Okay, well, hearing all this news, I know it's a big kind of clumpy mess of he says, she says. What do you guys think about what the producer of Pokemon Sword and Shield had already said about the title? Do you believe that Game Freak was lying about their intentions and what they made with Pokemon?
Are you still excited to play the game now, or are you a lot less excited? Let us know what you think in the comments.